In the heart of the Kingdom of Poland, in the thriving city of Torun, a child was born who would fundamentally alter humanity's perception of the cosmos. His name was Nicolaus Copernicus, born on February 19, 1473, into a world that placed the Earth at the very center of everything. The prevailing view of the universe was the Ptolemaic system, an intricate and elegant model conceived in the 2nd century. This geocentric model envisioned the Earth as stationary, with the Sun, Moon, planets, and stars revolving around it in perfect circular orbits. To account for the observed wandering paths of planets, the model employed complex devices known as epicycles and deferents. For over 1400 years, this Earth-centered view was the bedrock of Western astronomy and philosophy. Copernicus, a true Renaissance man, was not content to accept dogma without question. His academic journey began at the University of Krakow, where he was first introduced to the wonders of mathematics and astronomy. He then traveled to Italy, the vibrant heart of the Renaissance, to continue his studies in law, medicine, and the classics. It was in Italy that he was exposed to the newly rediscovered ideas of ancient Greek philosophers who had questioned a geocentric universe. These seeds of doubt about the Ptolemaic system began to grow in his intellectually fertile mind. Upon returning to Poland, he took a position as a canon at the Frombork Cathedral, a role that gave him financial security and time for his true passion. From a tower in the cathedral's fortifications, he built a modest observatory to gaze upon the heavens. He was not a prolific observer, but his careful measurements were precise enough to highlight the inconsistencies in the existing model. He found the Ptolemaic system, with its multitude of epicycles, to be clumsy and not sufficiently pleasing to the mind. He sought a more harmonious and elegant explanation for the motions of the planets. Around 1514, he began to circulate a short, handwritten manuscript known as the Commentarioluses, or Little Commentary. This document outlined the radical, foundational principles of his new heliocentric theory. The first principle was revolutionary. The Sun, not the Earth, is the center of the universe. All the celestial spheres, he proposed, revolved around the Sun as their midpoint. The Earth was no longer a stationary, privileged observer, but was demoted to just another planet. Copernicus proposed that the Earth itself has 3 distinct motions. Its daily rotation on its own axis explained the apparent rising and setting of the Sun and stars. Its annual revolution around the Sun explained the Sun's journey through the zodiac over the course of a year. This model offered a stunningly simple explanation for the perplexing retrograde motion of planets like Mars. Retrograde motion was no longer a real backward loop in space, but an optical illusion created by the relative motion of Earth and the other planets. Copernicus's theory also allowed him to calculate the relative distances of the planets from the Sun, establishing a true scale for the solar system for the first time. One major implication of his model was that the universe had to be vastly larger than anyone had previously imagined. If the Earth was orbiting the Sun, then nearby stars should show a parallax shift in their position throughout the year, but none was observed. Copernicus correctly concluded that the stars were simply too far away for the shift to be measured with the instruments of his day. Despite the elegance of his theory, Copernicus hesitated to publish his work for decades. He feared not only the condemnation of the Church, but also the ridicule of his fellow astronomers. His life's work, the culmination of over 30 years of thought, was a book titled De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium. The catalyst for its publication was a young, enthusiastic mathematician named Georg Joachim Rheticus. Rheticus traveled to Frombork to study with Copernicus and became the theory's first and most ardent disciple. He published an introduction to Copernicus's ideas, the Narratio Prima, which was well received and helped ease Copernicus's fears. Finally, in 1542, Copernicus entrusted his manuscript to Rheticus for printing in Nuremberg. The printing was overseen by a Lutheran theologian named Andreas Osiander. Without permission, Osiander added an anonymous preface to the book. This preface presented the heliocentric model not as a physical reality, but merely as a mathematical tool for calculation. It was a well-intentioned but unauthorized attempt to soften the blow of the book's revolutionary claims. Legend has it that Copernicus was on his deathbed when the first printed copy of his masterpiece was brought to him. He awoke from a coma, saw his life's work in its final form, and then peacefully died. Nicolaus Copernicus died on May 24, 1543, the very year his book was published. The Copernican revolution did not happen overnight. For many, the book was too technical and its ideas too contrary to common sense and scripture. The earth feels solid and unmoving, and the Bible spoke of the sun standing still, not the earth. The Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe, while admiring Copernicus, proposed a hybrid model. Tycho's incredibly precise and comprehensive astronomical observations, however, would become crucial. After Tycho's death, his data fell into the hands of his brilliant assistant, Johannes Kepler. Kepler was a firm Copernican, but he could not make the data fit the model's perfect circular orbits. After years of painstaking work, Kepler had a breakthrough. The planets moved not in circles, but in ellipses. Meanwhile, in Italy, Galileo Galilei was turning a new invention, the telescope, towards the heavens. His observations provided the first direct, observational evidence to support Copernicus. He saw that Jupiter had its own moons, proving that not everything orbited the Earth. He observed the phases of Venus, which could only be explained if Venus orbited the Sun, not the Earth. Galileo's vocal support for Copernicanism would famously bring him into direct conflict with the Catholic Church. The final piece of the puzzle was provided by Sir Isaac Newton in the following century. Newton's law of universal gravitation explained why the planets moved the way Copernicus and Kepler described. It was the physics that underpinned a heliocentric model, giving it a firm theoretical foundation. Nicolaus Copernicus did not just propose a new astronomical model, he initiated a revolution in thought. He moved the Earth from its privileged position at the center of creation. In doing so, he moved humanity as well, forcing us to reevaluate our place in a vast and impersonal universe. His work laid the foundation for the scientific revolution, encouraging a new age of observation, mathematics, and skepticism. Nicolaus Copernicus was the quiet canon from Poland who, through the power of reason, stopped the sun and moved the earth.